Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Pop filter test, pop filter test. Whoop, bloop, bloop, bloop. Just doing a couple of tests, and then I will get started shortly because I kind of not running low on time, but I kind of want to just do this because I may be doing things in the future. That means, yeah, I should try to keep things as concise and as accurate as I could make them make it possible, basically. But yeah, just give me a moment. I will get started in pretty much 30 seconds, sub 30 seconds. Just making sure that I have things set up in the background that, you know, not really. If nothing else, I can do this. Yeah, let me just do that really quickly. Whoop! And to this white thing. And then I put that into the scene. Yes, I'm just taking care of things really in the background really quickly, and I will get started. I did some preparation, but not as much as I probably should have. But it should be fine, as long as I don't do anything completely weird. Whew. All right, that's not the most. That's not the greatest way to put it, but it should be fine. And if anything else happens, then, well, that's gonna be bad. So let me see. Alright, I'm getting a little error. This stream should be over within an hour, maybe a little bit more, but basically a big... Like I said, it's gonna be a crash course if you're watching this video. I'll probably put timestamps in a pinned comment after the video, hopefully, and we should be good to go. I'm just making sure that things are okay before I get started, but again, there should be a pinned comment below with the timestamps after the video. Right now, of course, I'm streaming live, so it's if you're watching this as it's being streamed, then yeah, you're gonna have to wait. But yeah, the bulk of this video is gonna be training. I could have went over a specific girl, but I decided not to. I am a complete free-to-play, so I'm not spending any real money on anything. If there's skins, then I kind of let that pass, but if it has to do with, say, like, polls and whatnot, I have not spent a single dollar. So, and I usually keep it that way for my gachas. And yeah, that's the way I keep it. So anything else I do is, anything you see is not obtained with money. But without further ado, we'll begin really quickly. Again, just a really quick background check. Let me know if the stream kind of breaks away, and I will... this is kind of the more informal version, but like I said, it's a crash course. I might put out a little former version, but that'll be like 7 tips, not as in-depth as this video / stream if you're watching at the time of recording. So, just gonna go over things really quickly. This is more for newer players or players who are kind of getting a feel of things. If you are a whale or someone with the resources or someone who is dedicating or going to dedicate time into this game, it's not going to be as helpful, but maybe for experienced trainers it will give you kind of the mindset of at least one free-to-play player. And we will get into it in a moment. Of course, I did look into some things, and I have been looking into some things. I don't know how many more videos I'll put out, so that's why I'm kind of doing this right now. So, I won't go over things that you kind of already get based on digging in the community, simple things like how to PvP and whatnot. I'm just gonna be going into more, like the title should say, strats, or things, little tips here and there that may or may not help some of you. This is geared more towards people who are free to play, or kind of spending a little bit of money, but are not whales and whatnot. So again, one last time, and I might repeat a couple times here and there during training, but if you are a whale or someone with the resources, this video is probably not going to help as much, but I will be going over some things that may go over the heads of newer trainers. So, without further ado, timestamps should be in a pinned comment below if you're watching this after the stream. If you're watching it during the stream, you're going to have to wait, because I'm going to dedicate some time to the outside. F2, some of you may have noticed, maybe you doubt me when I say complete free-to-play, but literally, these are all the jewels I've been saving up since pretty much the game began. I try to do a 10 pull on every time a new banner comes up, but if I can't, then I don't. So every time a new banner, which includes the girl and the support card banner, I try to save 3,000 to do a 10 pull on the girl banner and the 10 pull on the support card banner. This might load me out because I've been standing here for a while, but that's fine. The main reason for that is so I can get some progress in, so I'm kind of in the gray area, but I like I said, I do want to make some progress. So again, going into the gacha, the reason why I'm doing this is because in preparation for in case there's a limited girl, mainly if there's a limited support card, I may kind of skip it, but if there's a limited girl, then that's why I'm kind of been saving my jewels. Otherwise, you could be another version of this, and how most people are doing it is they're just using all their jewels as they get them to get pulls, which is really good for your progression, so I don't really, I mean, I can't really argue against that. I could probably hit A rank on all my girls. All of them are kind of stuck at around B+, plus almost like literally 10 points to A rank. If we're looking at stats, I don't really look at that as much, but if I basically spent all my jewels here doing pulls, then I could get, I could be farther in my progress, at least in terms of what the rewards I can get in PvP and my circle and so on and so forth. So otherwise, if you could be the extreme other side where you save all your jewels, maybe you do a 10 pull once, like a month, but I think that's going to hurt your progression too much, so that's why I'm doing this as it is, so nearest 7,500 jewels. If I get a little bit more, I might do another 10 pull, but I think I've kind of stopped by now. Now that we know that different versions of girls, this is how Psy Games is going to do some of their banners, then basically we're waiting for a limited version of a girl, because they've done it with Idolmaster, so there's no... I mean, I would logically assume that they would do the same for here. So again, saving jewels could be a thing, but, I mean, you can do whatever you want ultimately, it's not going to hurt you too much. Back to the main screen for a moment. Don't need to pop into the circle. All you really need to know is donate shoes and for friend points. Main reason is because in the shop, you will need to get your free-to-play support card with the circle points. And because if you're a complete free-to-play like I am, then you probably don't have... if you're the high average, you have like maybe one SSR that's like... double limit broken, max limit broken. I mean, I guess you have better luck, but otherwise, if you don't have a lot of SSR limit broken, or a lot of them leveled up to 35 plus, then you need to do things even though they're not quote-unquote high tier by the community, or just objectively, Mijimo McQueen and Rice Shower support card SSRs are not really rated too highly, but if you're complete free-to-play and you don't have the resources, and since you can only borrow one support card, you need to get high-level SSR somewhere. Granted, the events have been giving us SSRs, but, I mean, having more of them as a free-to-play really helps out, so... other than that, the free SR ticket every month, I mean, it's pretty much a given. Crowns. These pieces I mainly spend if a girl is, if you're a complete free-to-play or near free-to-play and you have certain 2-star or 1-stars that are 25 or less pieces away, basically you're just going to spend the pieces to get them up to 2-star or 3-star, because that really helps out. And in the case of 3-star, since their unique skill evolves, then that's a bit more helpful on top of awakening them. And that's pretty much it. Friend card is if you like the SSR, but I don't know how. I haven't spent it yet, but if it's only 10,000, then I would personally wait until I can get enough to get it to plus 50 or level 50. Otherwise, I mean, you can do what you want there, but mainly you're looking for the SSR card. Not really much else to say. Other things are pretty self-explanatory. And last but not least, going into the girls really quickly. Or PvP. There's PvP as well, but we're gonna go over this first. Again, support cards. Pretty much do all this. Limit break them, level them up. The design behind it is that eventually, at least for the rare cards, you will get to a point where all your rare cards will be limit broken, and therefore you'll be throwing these and recycling them through the recycle option to get your horseshoes to buy SR tickets. You could choose to sell them now if you know you're never going to use rare cards, because most people are using SRs or SSRs, so theoretically you can turn in your SRs for just horseshoes right now. That way you can use things to bind the score with for whatever you need. That's more optimal. I personally am just saving because I'm more of a completionist, so, you know, there's that as well. Nothing really much else to say. If you've looked at translations and whatnot, you kind of know what these are. There's just something I did want to note going into this, and for people to think about going forward in terms of the girls' side games is putting out. Because let me just do this. Let me sort by mid-distance. Granted, if you sort it this way, it will mainly show girls that have that whatever you sorted by at A rank if you're looking at races or strategy or turf or dirt races. But the point still stands. These are the girls who have a rank in their mid distance. Some of them even have A in long distance. And let's switch for a moment. And the girls who have A rank on their short distance are these four. And some of them don't count because Haru Urara, you usually put her in your dirt races, at least for PvP, and which leaves King Halo, Bakshin O, and if you're a complete free-to-play, you may not have Taiki Shuttle, so like me. So you're literally working with three. I mean, granted, you can use inheritances to boost girls who are at a B rank to an A rank, and therefore to an S rank, but anything lower, like a C or lower, it's a bit harder to get them, because having a higher rank in races makes a significant difference. It's not the hugest difference, but it is significant. I've noticed it, which is why I've currently been S-ranking certain strats or races for the girls. But another thing to note, on top of one last sort option right here, the girls who are good at this last strategy, the drive-in strategy. So yeah, the only one who has this strategy as at Ray ranked at base is Gold Chip, but again, you can if you really want to put someone as a drive-in girl and she's a B rank or C rank, you could put her to A rank or S rank. I'm just saying for the sake of side games going forward, design-wise, most of the girls have been mid-range, long distance, but they may have some plans for that. But as it relates to your PvP team, you gotta rely on inheritances if you want to work on short distance, or actually, let me go back really quickly, or dirt racers, because the girls who have a dirt race category at A rank are, at base, when you start anyway, 1! Haru Urara. Granted, your PvP team, dirt racers, are probably, usually if you're not a whale or someone who has the resources, then it's Haru Urara, El Condor Pasa, or Air Groove, I think. Air Groove? Or, no, Oguri Cap. Who is a 3-star, so for free-to-plays, if you don't have Oguri Cap, then, yeah, your dirt team kind of... They're definitely not A rank, which, again, can make the difference. If it's B rank, it's still workable, but you kind of want to still give yourself the advantage. But yeah, PvP races, not really much else to say. Mainly, this is not a video for PvP, it's more for training, but just to go over a quick overview of PvP. Get the most points, rank up your class. The main way you do that, as from what I've seen, is basically you want to make sure, because your PvP team will have 3 girls in it, you want them to get 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. On top of that, you want them to have a good positioning throughout the race. 3rd, you want them to pop all their skills, which adds more points to your team total. And there's a 4th one, I can't remember what was at the moment. But mainly those 3, making sure your girls place top 3 in every PvP team race. Them popping their skills and them having good positioning throughout the PvP race for each of the 5 categories. So yeah, that's PvP in a nutshell. And without further ado, I don't think there's much else to say. Everything else is kind of self-explanatory. Get your support cards, do your progression, do your dailies, and let's get into the training. Someone requested for me to do a Silent Suzuka, and I do have a Silent Suzuka, but we're not going to do that this video, because anything that I could say for Silent Suzuka is going to be dampened by the fact that I don't know her specific schedule specifically. I don't know her schedule by heart, more than I do say Gold Chip, who I main as a free-to-play, which you probably shouldn't do. You should probably kind of try to get all your girls awakened and leveled up equally to make them available, at least all to 3 stars, but I focus on Gold Chip, so I kind of know her main scenario events by heart, among with other things. Again, this is going to be a crash course getting into the training section. But yeah, much else to say pre-training, if we're going to cut to the training section here. The inheritances, you probably know them, but for people who don't know, basically you want high stars on your stats, or on a more general level, try to inherit things that help your girl. For most girls, that's going to be turf, but if we're talking about specific things, like say I know I'm doing Gold Chip, I want strength in my Gold Chip, I want her drive-in strategy to be at S, and whether I put her in mid-distance or long-distance, I want those to be at S. If you're just trying to get through, if you're not trying to raise a PvP gold ship, then it doesn't matter as much, but for inheritance, you kind of want to boost your stats, so it's easier to get to the 3-star inheritance level. If you're trying to win URA races over and over, then you just want to focus on a stat distribution that helps you basically get to the end of URA finals. Again, it's mainly, are you raising your girl for inheritance? Are you just trying to get the URA final clear for, say, titles and whatnot? Or are you trying to build a PvP girl? Here, I'm kind of just turning my brain off, but it depends. I try to stay more flexible, but I don't plan on making a PvP gold ship this training. As for your support cards, get them as high leveled as possible, because each one, granted, differences here and there are, say, another 5 levels or 10 levels gets you an extra 2 points per training, but since you're training for like 30-40 turns, that ultimately results in, say, 80 to 100 plus more stats, which makes the difference between, say, a B or a B plus girl or an A rank girl. If we're looking at ranks, gameplay-wise, the higher your stats, the better you'll do in races, so yeah, get your support cards leveled, depending on what girls you want to build. If, again, since this video is more for free-to-plays, you don't have the choice of saying, I have all these genres of cards. Maybe you only have, so here are my cards. I have the free-to-play Speed SSR. Now we have that free-to-play Guts SSR, but if you don't have them, say you have a bunch of stamina, then you're kind of in a bit more trouble. If you have more speed, maybe you're building more Bakshin O, or you're just building Bakshin O for inheritances. It's not really that hard either, but you have to work with what you've got. So again, for a gold ship, I usually want to go to strength, maybe a speed, but it really depends because there's RNG, but at least planning here, I know I want 2 strength, and from here I can do whatever I want. Mainly for right now, I'm borrowing Tazna. Tazna and or Aoi usually only bring one of them. They help stabilize your training, but I've seen some 6 support loadouts without any trainers or rival or friendship, whatever you want to call these support card types. They work really well on increasing your stats. They just make your run a little bit more unstable, because if you get a bad rest, then that's turns that you waste having to rest. I'll get into it if it happens during this training, but I'm personally taking Tazna, and I'm doing this for more event points. So let's go. Yeah, I'll be stopping for some main scenario events during the during my training, but as I'm going through, I'll go more into what strategies I like to do. Again, if you're doing Silent Suzuka or someone who's running Escape, depending on what races they have, you want to focus on, if possible, you want support cards and or to get skills that help them in those races. If you're looking for inheritances or URA clears, if you're trying to build a PvP girl, it might be a bit different. And I apologize in advance for any static pops. So this first turn, usually you try to look for a training, because then you want to go to an outing and up your motivation. Obviously, the more sports you have, early training, at least in the first year, for those who don't understand Japanese as much, basically you're going through 3 years. By the end of your first year, you kind of want a girl close to or already at Orange Bond. That way you can begin your Rainbow training or Friendship training, which allows you to increase your stats more. So any training that has 3+ supports, you kind of just take, except for maybe, well, they're not showing up right now. I don't think they've appeared yet, but I'll let you know when you see them. There's the journalist, and then there's the chairwoman. But the chairwoman gets a special star because, or an important point, because you need her to level up your unique skill. I'll get into that in a moment. So usually, your very first turn you're training, if you have a turn where there is like no supports, like only 1 support here, 1 support here, 1 support there, and 0 supports everywhere else, you might just go in an outing turn 1, but usually you're doing training turn 1 and into an outing turn 2. That way if it's not at max, then you can do it again. If this turn is like, so this turn isn't as great, I'd still take 2 supports, and since, like I said, I plan on doing power training, then I'll take this 2 power support to get these bonds leveled up. This is basically what you're doing past to your debut race, quote-unquote. So here we have one of the first generic main scenario events for your horse girl. This one is important. I usually take the bottom one, but early game, especially if you plan on getting your unique skill leveled up, whether for PvP or just because to survive the URA finals, you take the top choices. You take the top choice. The top choice removes 5 energy. I'm going to call this energy up here. 5 energy for 5 stats, and increases your bond with the chairwoman. The bond with the chairwoman, like I said later on, there will be a specific date where the chairwoman needs to be at least around 50%. I can't remember the exact bond level, but she needs to be high enough, and you have to have a certain turn count, which means this event is kind of important for increasing her bond early. Otherwise, if you're late later in your training and you don't need her bond raised anymore, then basically the bottom choice is a value bet on your energy, if I hope I'm using that term correctly, where you regain energy, but assuming that you have better support cards, that means every turn that you train, you get more stat points per energy point. So you would take the bottom choice because, well, you get more points per training. But I'm taking the top one because I want to... I'm going for the chairman bond, basically. I think that appears right there. And of course, we're mainly just going to keep training. Around 50% I may rest if I don't see any good training. So here, some people might choose to train in one of these 2 areas. I probably will just rest here and basically predict that next turn is going to be better for maybe even 3 supports. If there are 3 supports in the training I really like, then I will take it. And again, this changes depending on what girl you're training. Maybe these are speed instead for Bakshi no. Maybe these are stamina instead for another girl who needs stamina, like Super Creek. Or you want to build stamina into, like Super Creek. It really depends. So as I'm going to, up until my make debut, I'll go off on talking about the rest option. So on the top left, or if you've played the game somewhat, the top left option down here at the main menu is the rest option. There are 3 types of rest, and that's one of the main RNG portions of training. You don't know what rest you're gonna get. I'm pretty sure there's no way to influence it. I've tried. So, but maybe there is, maybe there isn't. But if not, it's RNG. You either get a good rest, an excellent rest, or a bad rest, or a worse rest. Actually, there are 4 types of rests. So if you get an excellent rest, you heal about, I think it's 70 energy. A good rest, or normal rest, quote-unquote, is 50 energy, a bad rest is 30 energy, and a worse rest is 30 energy, motivation down 1 tier, and usually an injury, which means you have to click this option to heal it. So that's what I mean by, and as I go into Tazna, hopefully I get Tazna this run, unless something weird happens, but, yeah, when you have either Aoi or Tazna, they can stabilize your run, because you can use them instead of resting, because Tazna, for sure, every turn that you go on an outing with her, she heals energy, and it's guaranteed. There's no way to fail in outing, really. And whereas opposed to a rest, if you get a terrible rest, well, you got a terrible rest, and there's really nothing you can do about it. Again, up until the debut race, it won't really show you a date, but after the debut race, you'll be on your main training. Quick thing to note right here is you really want to get first place in your debut race, because if you don't get first place, the game literally locks you out of basically every other race you want to do. So if you don't get first in your debut race, I mean, that doesn't mean you toss the run or give up the run. It means you need to get rid of that. You need to spend more turns. So I just jinxed myself here, but at least you'll see what happens. So, yeah. It's basically going to tell me to win first in my debut race. After that, if there are any other requirements, usually as it relates to fans, even if it is a race, because some G1, if I were to think off the top of my head, there are certain G1 races where you need 25,000 fans. Some only need 20,000, but here it says, hey, you need to win a debut race. So please do that. Otherwise, you're going to fail immediately. So yeah, get first in your debut race. Again, but you could run to a freak accident. I don't know if anyone who is a higher ranked or is a whale has ever experienced that problem, but it can definitely be a problem for free-to-plays. It usually won't happen if you're raising a quote-unquote easier girl to train like Daiwa Scarlet or Sakura Bakshin. Oh, but if it happens, like I said, it's more turns you have to use. It's another turn you have to use, not training and having to fix the error, quote-unquote, whether it's yours or not. Again, so we see this event again. I need the bond with the chairwoman to go up, so I'm going to take the top option. Usually I'll wait till later, though, to do the debut race. If we look right here, it says all basically lowest grade race because I haven't won any yet. Let's take this one. because I don't want to. You also don't want to take a race that's not starred. The game tries to show you that you have an A rank in that strategy by showing a star here. For those who are free to play or have just started, maybe you'll see an option that shows you basically these 3 options. These are more flavor. Since I know what I want to do, I just kind of put these. They don't really serve a real function. It's just quality of life things. But again, if I don't win this debut race, I don't know. I guess I'll just do another training, but we'll see. Not really good training for me, so I'm just gonna rest here. And let's see here. I mean, I'm gonna have to train at some point. Yeah, so we're gonna take this one. Four supports, quote unquote. 3 of them I really want, Tazna and the 2 powers, but again, this is kind of the things you need to be thinking about as you're training your girl. Obviously, if your support card levels are higher and your inheritances are better, you have a lower chance of failing the debut race or failing races in general, or you have an easier time doing things that are more geared towards endgame, which are basically getting fans or basically training girls for PvP. If you are a newer player, though, mainly you're trying to either win URA finals with as many girls as you can, or you're grinding for inheritance. Which at that point, you probably don't need this video anymore. You have a good foundation of this game to kind of be in that grind, to be in the loop. So again, I already have rainbow training there. That's because my support card level is high enough where I'll show you in a moment. I can go check, but this is why you need your support card level. Support card levels high, depending on the card, of course. I think, well, we can see it here too. So here, this specific text right here, accidentally clicked off, says that this is the bond level that your support card starts out with. The higher level, this would probably be like 25, 30-ish, near 40 or 45. But there are some cards that don't have this at all, or will get it later on. So mainly, I off the top of my head, Super Creek. I think hers unlocks at like level 35 or 40, and she's the SSR Super Creek. So that means until you unlock that, her support bond starts at 0, as opposed to a lot of other cards that usually start around 20-25, depending on how high you level them. But again, that's why every little bit happens. And then El Condor Pasa, off the top of my head, she also has, along with other cards, have things like fan bonuses and whatnot, which is kind of where the grind for endgame comes in, where you're trying to get as many fans as possible for your circle, or just for progression in certain parts of the game, but mainly for your circle, because the higher rank your circle, the higher, the better rewards you'll get at the end of the month, if it matters. To me, it doesn't matter as much. I'm not saying it's unimportant, because obviously I would love to do a 10 pull every month when the rewards are given, but you are still relying on RNG unless you can. So unless you're getting a pity roll, you would do a 10 roll, you may not get anything still. So yeah. And of course, the top rank is filled with whales and stuff, so I'm not saying that you have to be a whale to do it. It's just more challenging as you get up there. So as we get into the end of the quote-unquote year, there is an event coming up after the, after this race, because how the game splits up the turns are by I should have actually gotten this. How the game splits up the turns is by early month and late month, or basically the first half and the second half of a month. As you get into the new year, there's one specific event I will talk about in a moment. After this, I'll skip this race really quickly to get to it. But there's nothing in this. There's nothing about your girl's schedule. The only things that are random, the main things that are random when you're training a girl are the support card events and where the supports are during your training. So some trainings may be filled with supports in all the right places and all the right turns. Other times they're not where you want them to be, but that's where kind of the grind starts in. So here's the first New Year's event, we'll call it, because it starts at the early January. I need to click off this because I accidentally clicked it. Top option is 10 to a stat, 5 to a stat. I usually don't pick it. The middle option I usually take because is energy recovery, and the bottom option is skill points. I mainly take skill points if my energy is obviously close to topped off or at topped off, because therefore I can't recover energy. Maybe I want the stats, but usually I take the energy because I'm missing energy. So 20 energy, every point matters, and as your support cards are higher level or you have more inheritance, when that comes up, you want energy basically. because you can spend, the more energy you spend is worth more per point than the static amount that an event may give you. That's the reasoning behind it. And I think first half of April is when you get your inheritance events. You get one at the beginning of the training, but you get 2 more during the course. So that's where you can kind of plan out your inheritances, see what you want to. If you look at your inheritances before you started training, you can kind of try to bank on that. Obviously, I shouldn't need to explain the double circles, the inheritance compatibility or cycling. That's more advanced things, not too advanced, but again, if you know about that by this point, then you kind of don't need this video, but yeah. We'll go this one. If you're more confident, you should be kind of waiting till near the end, or not skills. For me, personally, spending my skill points on skills that I may get hints in. If there's unique skills, like this one is Gold Ship Special unique skill, I know I'm never going to get a hint, which means a discount in skill points, so I just buy it immediately. But for almost everything else, I kind of wait if I feel confident about my run, because if you buy things at a bigger discount later on and they get discounted, then you save more skill points and you might be able to buy more skills. The downside is that, well, you might run into a race where having a skill earlier may have allowed you to get first place. Then it kind of hurts you in that regard. And getting first place is really important. As you just saw, my debut race, not getting first place there kind of hurt me in terms of losing a turn. But again, that's more for what you're comfortable with. Other things like the failure rate, I might not. I usually gamble this, but if it's like 5% or higher, I might choose to rest. So, but if you're really going brave on it, then you can. I mean, that's kind of the way to. That's kind of a strat to raise higher level girls, or at least try to get more points in, because obviously if you succeed in the training, then you get higher stats, whether for inheritance or for PvP. If you fail, then yeah, you don't want to fail, basically. Try not to fail. For those who don't know, if you fail training, you lose stats, but mainly you get motivation down and an injury, which you have to recover. Anytime you get an injury is turns lost. You really don't want that. So if you're, for me personally, when I turn my brain off and I don't want to think about it, I just don't try to gamble, and I just rest with like 5 to 10% failure rate minimum. But if you're feeling more, or sometimes I gamble on it and I say 33% chance to fail, but it's summer, so. And I'll go over summer strats really quickly. Again, it still depends on what you want to do and what you're comfortable with. Most people, some people do 1 study, 3 training. Some people go balls to the wall and do 4 training during the summer and just rely on RNG, which can work. Like I said, if you succeed, you succeed. So you get stats there. If you don't, then 1, you lost a turn of summer training, and 2, you take whatever minus comes along with failing it. I'll be skipping the races here, because I'm mainly not going to be paying attention to them unless it's an important race, or I want to see what happens. But since races are decided when you hit that, either to skip or go into the race, it's kind of, the visual is still what you need to kind of gauge how you're doing in the race, but otherwise, yeah, it happened. The race is quote-unquote calculated when you hit that button. So again, still kind of training. If you don't have your trainer, usually Tazna, if you just take Tazna if you can. But if Tazna is not near the point, your 50% mark, then if you really need her, then you want her at that point. Me, I'm kind of more laid back, so I'm not really too worried if she doesn't. Even if I don't go through all of her outing events, they are good, but I mainly use them for safe training more than the pluses. Less so for Gold Ship as well. If you're training like, say, Silent Suzuka, you kind of want to usually get to the end of Tazuna's outings. So again, I could 3% I'd gamble on, but it really depends on how you're comfortable with. Some people do 10, 15%. I usually wouldn't, but sometimes I do. It really depends. So we have to rest. Okay, so just going quickly over the races. For anyone here, actually, right, this turn is currently the turn. So there are 2 main races that I'm currently focused on at my current progression of the game, especially as it relates to fans, is that if you're trying to get into getting a higher fan count, you want to usually concentrate on this race, Nihon Derby. For some girls, it's an objective race, but for Gold Ship, it's optional. There's a second race later on that is just about the same amount of fans, which is a bigger boost when you get first place. If you don't get first place, you might need to supplement it with more Grand Prix Grade 1 races, but it really depends. You know what, we'll just take this now. Skills I get into later, but I just want to get into this race. I'll let this race go as I get into basically talking about fans and stuff. If you're trying to complete URA finals with a lot of girls, if you're just trying to go through URA finals, you probably just instead spend the turn training. But for me personally, or if you're going for titles, the fan titles, like the one I'm going for right now in Gold Ship requires me to get 10 million fans. So therefore, every training that you do for 32p, the more fans you can get, the faster you can get those titles, and this kind of helps out. Obviously, if you're a whale or someone who has the resources, then you can spend more turns doing races for fans, and therefore you can get a higher fan count. As it relates to endgame or your circles fans, which plays into beginning of month rewards, you want more fans per training because that helps you get higher fans. Otherwise, like I said, if you're just trying to get inheritances and whatnot, you don't have to race here. The only other reason I can think of why you'd race more often is mainly to get skill points, because whether you win or lose, you get skill points. I think by winning first place, you get a little bit more skill points. Obviously, bringing support cards that have race bonuses up, I think grants you more skill points. So if you need skill points to buy more skills, whether for PvP or just to try to get inheritances and whatnot, then that's why you would race. But otherwise, it's usually for the fans, for the fan count, increasing your fan count. For some titles, like getting legend rank with a lot of girls or the same girl, you need to get into these. You need to try to basically optimize the amount of fans you're getting per turn. So maybe that's not racing every turn, because obviously you still need to increase your stats. Instead you can do, like I said, mainly there are two races I'm looking at. When I turn my brain off, I'm looking for, like this race, the Nihon Derby. If it's not an objective race, like I said earlier, Gold Ship, this is an optional race. But Nihon Derby, and then I think the Japan Cup later on, but that's later in my training. But these are the two races. Basically, if I get first place in two of these races, and I do really, really well in my objective races, then I get legend rank consistently. I think my first time I got the legend fan count, if for anyone who cares, was the same training that I got my onsen run, and I'll talk about that when we get there as well. But short preview: if you get onsen during a run, that run should be very good. If you get onsen and the run is really, really, really bad, then you just kind of feel bad. But yeah. So again, this will be about 30,000 fans with my support cards where they're at, because I have enough of a bonus to get me about, say, I think 31,000 fans, maybe a little bit more. Let's see. Yeah, 32,000 fans, so, you know. So yeah, like this, Nippon Derby and Japan Cup are pretty much near 25,000 fans if you get first place, plus the fan bonus multiplier from your support cards. So, like I said earlier, if you're going for fans, that's more optimal. If you just want to train and get your stats up for inheritances or just for specific builds, then you just want to not race and train instead. But, like I said, it really depends. I might rest twice here because I don't have Tazna outings. I usually have outings with Tazna by here, but... Also, just a quick note here, some girls have, or maybe all of them do, but definitely a lot of girls have a certain eat-out event. If you take the top option, it's less energy, but nothing happens. The bottom option is, quote-unquote, more energy recovered, but basically you get a, your girl becomes fat condition, and yeah, like I said, you don't want any negative conditions if possible. Maybe there's someone who runs a strat that allows you to pick the bottom option, but... I'm pretty sure that was Gold Ship's version of it, but a lot of girls have that, so... that certain scenario event. I said I was going to rest twice. Hopefully this is... So again, if you see this title, that's great rest, that's 70 energy. I don't have any rainbow training because the game decided I don't have any. That's RNG. But, like I said, I'll just do study trading. So, in the summer... if I want to play really safe, it's usually something along the lines of 2 study, 2 non-study training, because when you do true training, usually you'll be at the point where you start to have a 10 to 15% chance to fail if you do 2 non-study training in a row. If you do study, train, then you have a more stable option, like what I'm going to do here. Or you could, but usually you aim for at least 4 training if for some reason you have some weird, failure rate at 33% and you pass, but usually it's something along this. I play it safer, but if you want more stats for your stat distribution, or you're trying to correct something, then you kind of need to take the gamble. So here, as for the trainer event, for those who don't know, this is Tazna's trainer event. You probably already know if you pick it, but if you pick the top option, you get to unlock trainer outings with Tazna. Same thing for Aoi. If you pick the bottom one, I think you get something else, but usually you want to unlock the outer trainings, or the trainer outings. Because definitely each of Tazna's allows you to recover energy. That's the main boost, along with increasing your motivation. For Aoi, it's usually the first 3, and the last 2 are kind of meh. But if you don't have, for some reason you don't have a Tazna support, then you just work with what you've got. In my case, that was Aoi for my first 2 weeks. So again, I'm actually going to stick with this, but again, this is why trainer supports or friend supports are more stable, because they allow you to basically save on turns and do safe rests. So like I said earlier, rests are RNG, but when you go out with a trainer, there's no RNG. It's the event that you get that heals our energy. I actually should have done it before this, but I'm feeling somewhat confident, so I'm going to let this pass. After this race, I'm definitely going to go on outing with Tazna, because like I said, Tazna will recover energy and increase your motivation. So that's 2 turns saved instead of resting for 1 turn, and on the second turn going on an outing to increase your motivation again. You could choose to not go on an outing, but then you're relying on the RNG of support card events randomly proccing to up your motivation for you. Just really quickly, you could, all these, what happens in the support card events aren't random. It's which ones you get that are random. So once you get a certain event, you can kind of look on online resources. Just same thing as a girl's schedule. The schedule is always static. What happens in an event is usually always static, barring some things like the random, the lottery drawing, or basically, like I said, what rests you may or may not get. Here, I got unlucky again and got my motivation decreased a whole bunch, so yeah. And for those who are completely new, you can, if you go on an outing with the girl, sometimes you get the crane game. The objective here is basically to try to, how I look at it is I just try to match this opening of the crane with the center of gravity of the doll is how they programmed it. So around here for girls on their side like this, maybe a little bit more to the right, but yeah, this is what you want to do, and after that it's random. They could have all dropped. I could have gotten them all. Usually 1 or 2 drop, but yeah. So for this one, if the girls that are slanted like this, you kind of want to aim the opening part to near their ear here. So trying to pick this huge El Condor Pasa. I should get it. Usually you don't drop dolls that are, if there are 2 or 3, you usually don't drop all of them. You get at least the one that you picked up. But if you only get 1, or if you get really unlucky, then yeah. Ooh. Sometimes you can use the girl's characteristics to kind of gauge it. Like I said, you want to look at the opening of the pincers of the crane to kind of match up with this Hayahide in this case. And that's kind of how you play the crane game. If you get a regular success, which is what you've got, you get the average result, mainly a level 1 to your hint. If you get a huge success or an excellent, then you get level 2. You get level 2 hint to that specific blue skill, which is nice, but I probably won't take it. So, yeah. Actually, let me take a look at the race. I think it's coming up. If not, I don't think I've passed it yet. Yeah, so you can go ahead and look forward in the where you're for races that you want to look at. I think I can see it, but let's see here. So again, here's the Japan Cup, 23 turns away for me, but it's what I want to focus on if I want to try to maximize my fan count in the lowest amount of turns as possible. If I don't get first place though, then I kind of have to plan around it, but it's fine. I guess as I go through the rest of the training, not really much else to talk about. I'm going to get into my next inheritance event soon, but I will get into basically the stat distribution of how you want to train your girls. So I'm training Gold Chip. Gold Chip is usually focused on mid-long distance. It kind of doesn't matter what girl you're training for the most part in terms of if you're only looking at stat distribution of a girl, you're looking more at what kind of races you're going into is going to determine your stat distribution. So just to go back out a bit, actually, yeah, let's stop here for a moment. So I know Gold Chip is going to be in a lot of mid-distance to long-distance races, and she's also, I plan to put her in the drive-in strategy. If you want a Spark Notes version or a very short version, basically the farther right your strategy as it relates, so escape, advance, insert, drive-in, people use different terms in the English community, the more power you want over speed. The farther left your strategy is, which is why you can do it with Sakura, Bakushin-O, or Silent Suzuka, the more speed you want over power. However, if you look at the type of races you're in, the farther right, so basically long to mid-distance to mile to short distance, longer distance races apparently require more power, which is the generally agreed upon opinion. Short distance races, you don't need as much power, but again, you need power once you start training in a non-escape strategy. So they're specific. The main two, and it really depends. If you're trying to get to URA finals or you're trying to just survive as far as you can in training, then that's how you want to fix your distribution. The formula for that is, so for me here, I have drive-in, and Gold Chip usually have the way I train her, she has mid-distance races, so I want around 600 stamina-ish. Some people go lower to 500, maybe even as short as 400. Most people I see say 600 stamina, power definitely basically 1200, and speed around 600, maybe a little lower, but speed as high as you can, and then guts and unfortunately guts and intelligence aren't as focused on, but as a general rule, you want them at minimum 300. 400 you can feel safer, both of them, and then 500 is kind of your safety net. But again, that's for Gold Chip. If I was training, say, Silent Suzuka, I can't remember what kind of races she does more of, but I would say more mild mid-distance. Then you want her, well, first of all, you want her mile and mid-distance to be at A, optimally S, and then since she's an if you're a free-to-play player and you don't have the inheritances to work another strategy, you put her in escape. So for Silent Suzuka, she's mile, mid-distance, escape. So you want, say, a lot of speed, basically 900, 1000 speed. If you're a free-to-play, you can't reach that much, so just aim for like 600 stamina, 400, 500 power, 300, 400 guts, and then guts and intelligence, the same thing. But if for some reason your Silent Suzuka you make your Silent Suzuka advanced, then you kind of need power because you need power to get past other girls. Things like this is what you need to survive or get to URA championships. However, if you're just training your girls for inheritances, then you're just trying to get the stats you want to try to inherit to 600, and then hope that RNG plays out. It really depends. After that, you kind of want to look into what girl you're training to kind of determine what your stat distribution is going to be. But again, I gave you kind of more the general view of how you want to balance your stats. After that, it's all about fine-tuning around her schedule and trying to get things as far as you can in wherever you're at in your training. So like I said, early game, it might not matter as much, but by the end of URA finals, you want to reach a certain stat. You want to hit certain stats depending on what you want to do. If you're trying to get to URA championships, optimally, you want all your stats to be at least 500, but if you're a free-to-play player, you kind of need to focus more on the distribution of your stats relative to the races you're in and the strategy you're using. Like I said, my Gold Chip, or if I turn my brain off, the way I raise Gold Chip is usually as a drive-in mid-distance, which means I need some amount of stamina, I need a lot of power. Yeah, I need as much speed as possible, but my power should probably be higher than my speed, usually. And and it still is RNG at that point, but that's RNG. So this is your second New Year's event. the top option is energy. They kind of flipped it around compared to the first one. The second one is +5 to all stats, and the bottom one is skill points again. If I was full on energy, I might take the bottom option. Sometimes I take the middle one if I'm feeling a bit preppy, but I'm just gonna take energy here, even though I'm kind of wasting quote unquote energy. So there's that. So one thing I want to focus on moving forward. So right now I'm in the middle. I might want my speed higher, and that's the other event. This specific event right there that happens at basically right after your your third inheritance event is the lottery draw. So depending on what you get, the worst outcome is a napkin, which lowers your motivation. The best one, I believe, is the onsen ticket. And there are ones in between, but the onsen ticket basically gives you a big boost to everything. Your stats, energy, motivation, and gets you, if you win URA championships, you get a bonus scene at the end of your training. But there are other things in between. Here's the other okay, so here's one of the first unique skill up events. The requirement for this one is to have at least 60,000 fans, so that's why I usually focus on doing. I sometimes might prioritize this over my stats, unless my stats are completely low. So say everything was under 500, then I wouldn't care about leveling up my unique skill as much. For some 3-star girls, it's really important, like Silent Suzuka, Special Week, Simply Rudolph. Gold Ship not as much, but at my current progression, where if your support cards are at around the same level as mine, then you kind of want to focus on hitting these thresholds. So early February, of course, this is the Valentine's event. You need at least 60,000 fans. In about 5 to 6 more turns, you'll get another event, which you need, I think, 70,000 fans, if I remember off the top of my head. And you need to have at least a green bond with the president, usually around at least 50%-ish, maybe even orange, I can't remember, but basically she needs to be high enough, because if you don't, instead you get skill points. In some cases, it's a motivation down, but that's the second level up to your unique skill. And then the last one is at Christmas at the end of this year, which you need 120,000 fans to level up your unique skill for the last time. So yeah, like I said, if you don't hit it, you don't hit it, and it's not that great. But if your skills are suffering for it, I say focus on your stats more. If you're feeling confident with where your stats are at, then you want to kind of focus on making sure your unique skill levels up, because it does make a difference. Otherwise, like I said, if you're just going for inheritances, I keep messing that up. Inheritance, mainly you're looking at stats, but a little note on top of that is that when you're doing, you may have noticed some girls have, I don't know if I can check it here. Can I do it here? Yeah. So when you look at it, just a quick tangent, some girls have white, mostly white inheritances are skills, but the other half of them are related to races, and you're wondering how to get these. Basically, place first in grade 1 races, and they have a chance of becoming inheritable after you complete your training. Which is part of the reason why completing the girls training, basically winning URA finals, is important, because URA finals in itself can be an inheritance factor, which is why you want to win it. So again, that's part of the grind in mid game, or once you've kind of broken out of the early game phase, is to cycle over and over through your training and consistently win URA championships. Not just for the factor, but also because, well, as you win the URA races, you basically get 100 plus to all of your stats. So that's a nice boost. This is the last inheritance event. If you're feeling confident, this is where you saved all your skill points for. If you're feeling really, really confident, you basically don't spend any skill points during the course of your training, minus the skills you know you'll never get discounts on. Like I said, I know this skill for Gold Ship will never get discounts where I'm at right now, so I just buy it immediately. But if I know other skills can get discounts, then I kind of wait on them. and depending on your level of confidence, you spend them later, or even after the whole training if you're like that godly at it, I guess. So in terms of Tazuna versus Aoi, I mean, I make memes about it all the time, but basically, if you have access to Aoi or Tazuna, I'm sorry, just use Tazuna. Unless for some reason your Aoi is for some reason outdoes your Tazuna for some reason, or a support card's Tazuna. Usually, since everyone and their mom took or puts Tazuna as their supports, there's usually a Tazuna support available that's at least level 35 plus somewhere, so, you know, it's there. Also, thanks for that, really quickly. Yeah, I'm doing this guide video, so kind of trying to keep it hot topic, but I see you there. But yeah, so like, again, I'm going through this training, kind of turning my brain off, looking more for inheritance, but if I was really focused, I try to get at least 3 stats to 600, because I know for sure, for a fact, in terms of my advice, 600 plus stats is where you want to be to try to guarantee, or try to get inheritance, so at least 3-star power, 3-star stamina for me. If I was really paying attention, maybe I could have gotten speed or guts to 600, especially with the help of support cards, but, you know. Also, at this point, if I didn't have Tazuna, I might go on an outing to up my thing, especially before a race or the summer. But since I know Gold Ship's summer isn't until after the race, I can kind of just do whatever I want here and spend some energy. That way, if I go on this Tazuna outing, it's not a complete waste. With this said, actually, yeah. So, probably should have taken either a speed or another guts support card. I don't really have a lot of guts supports cards, so... And no one puts gut supports, or there are the majority of people don't have gut support cards, so rip my guts if I wanted to try to inherit that. The reason why you would do that, if I was thinking of theoretically, and for anyone wondering, or for anyone who wants to brainstorm with me, because, well, that means you don't have to train into guts. So even for people who are extreme in that opinion, like, oh, guts is so not important, I mean, you might... It does play a factor, and even if you didn't care about it, I mean, are you not going to take free guts as your inheritance? That way you can focus more turns on not having to train in guts at all, and train them on, say, whatever you specialize in. For Gold Ship, it's power. For Bakshino or anyone of that nature, it's speed. Or basically, you save turns, which is... For me personally, I don't care. If you have a 3-star inheritance, I'm using your support girl. Because that means that's less turns for me, in general, to have to train that stat up. If it's a stat I don't quote-unquote need, that means I don't have to pay attention to it at all. If it is a stat I need, I'm going to go into this outing here so I don't risk anything. Probably, that's not optimal, but... yeah, if it is a stat I need, that means, oh, I don't have to train as much here. I can bring more support. I could bring another support card for, say, if I have good inheritance on speed, I can bring some for stamina if I'm running longer distance races, or power if I'm running in advance, and whatnot. So, yeah. And yeah, obviously, I'm going through this, not going over what the stats do in general. I never want to be certain, but if we're being real here, everyone in the community has a good idea of what these stats do. I'm just saying, at least moving forward, in terms of, like, timeless advice, you really shouldn't care if you're really that picky about inheritance. I mean, either you're building towards something or just take it, because, like I said, you usually want at least 300, 400 minimum of guts and intelligence. If you're free to play, or don't have the resources or are just starting the game, my stat distribution is really out of whack right now, but I'll fix that. But basically, you take what you can get. So if, like I said, it means less turns training things that less turns training stats that are training where you don't need to, basically. It saves you turns, and I'm not going to say no to that. Yeah, probably should have brought speed support, but again, for this, this is more a guide, stream/video, informal version, as opposed to a more formal one, but again, it wouldn't go in as in-depth as I'm going in now. If I was, but to talk about theory, if I were to go into more of what I'm doing here, if possible, I probably would have brought a speed support if I was higher, if my support cards were higher leveled. That way I would save, actually take the bottom choice because the top choice is power. But, again, so this is where knowing your girl comes into play, or knowing the girls. Of course, you could just look on online resources and kind of do a play-by-play, but for the sake of me personally, when I'm looking at my real life time and just trying to get, or burning TP, then I just kind of go through. That's why memorizing this is really helpful. Here, I don't feel really confident in my speed, but I'm kind of committed at this point. If I win, I predict like a 50-50 shot at winning URA, probably even lower, because I need more speed. Actually, I should just be training speed now at this point. But even at this point, personally, I'm not comfortable with 700 speed. If we're only looking at me winning the URA Championship Finals, and I'm only looking at the power stat alone. Obviously, I want to look at stamina, power, stamina as well. Guts, intelligence, I want higher. Like I said, optimally, I want them at like 500-ish. But at my current support card level and inheritance, that's not possible, so I have to play with what I have. Again, this is more kind of planning things out. I should be taking a blue skill as well. Well, not really with my... Well, yeah, I would still do it. Because I've looked at things here and there, whether having a blue skill, even if you have high stamina, is optimal or not, or just having enough stamina is good enough, but... Yeah. Let's do this, because I know basically what I know. And again, looking into the skills and what they do helps you more. Obviously, if you're if you're a foreign trainer, then you kind of want to look at the skills to kind of guarantee what they do, even if it just means going into a Japanese resource and looking at it. Also, I inherited Essence and Turf, so I kind of feel more confident now. But again, knowing things like, we don't yet know, and if there is someone, then their resources is not publicly known, but things like, say, if having an S grade is an exact 10% multiplier to your stats during those types of races, or if it's 20%, or if it's 5%, things of this nature. Knowing the exact values, I would not say for certain what they are. If there is someone who's out there, we're still learning about it. Again. So we're here with, this should be my last objective race. I'm just looking basically because I remember the names. But yeah, I kind of want more speed. At least 400 speed here at the end here. I really shouldn't. But, you know. And we'll get to the end here. Why did I save here? Oh, Japan Cup. Yeah, why not? Let's go for a Legend tier rating while we're at it. I really shouldn't do this. I should have been training, but... Again, this is, things that you're thinking of. Knowing your girl's stat distribution, or at least how you want to train your girl, depending on what you're training her, races you're training her for, and what strategy you're using. I went over it earlier. Maybe a little bit too fast. Maybe I've just been rambling on over and over, but this is how it is. So I'm pretty much, if I was focused on getting Legend rank for whatever reason, then I'm on a pretty good way forward. As long as I keep getting first, but yeah. So how I can tell is just, I just remember the event, and with Gold Chip specific. So again, knowing your girl's events in specific, though the choices that you make during those events and the results that you get are not random. What is random in terms of the events is which one you'll get. So that's why I said, if you really want to focus and really kind of make quality training, you would, if you without online resources, just memorize the or jot down notes as to the effects of each choice. Otherwise, like I said, there are online resources available. It is what it is. Same thing for support cards. Also, if you really want to look out for support cards, let me just get to an open part really quick. Let me go. Again, if we go here, let me get to the training menu. Support cards have the same thing, so since just a fun fact, or just if you played Idolmaster before, it's kind of the same thing. Events are linked to certain things. And for Musume, you can also look at what events. These are basically the events that can happen. On top of, as you get further your progression, you'll get support cards that you haven't, quote-unquote, brought with you. And just, if we're assuming you don't have online resources, these events show you what, how these events can give you these skills. On top of these skills that you can get for exclamation mark training. Basically, if you see an exclamation mark in your training, those are the pools. So say El Condor Pasa had an exclamation mark. I believe usually it's these skills that are rolled on that they can give you. So again, this is why kind of knowing the support cards, knowing your inheritances, what skills you may or may not inherit are important. And then of course there are the whatever girl you're training has her own set of events. Some of them are kind of generic, which is why I went over them in this video. You can look it through the training if you need to. And then there's just some generic events, like every New Year's there's an event, Valentine's Day event, where you can increase the level of your unique skill depending on if you hit certain requirements, fan requirement, mainly in terms of your fan count. One of them depending on your bond level with the chairwoman, who is the woman with a blue hat and dressed in blue attire. If you don't know, kind of short, so don't hurt me, chairwoman. But yeah. So as we get to URA finals, again, I probably have like a pretty much a 50% chance to get through the end here. I will clock if I need to, just for the sake of being cool. But again, oh, I guess we can talk about that as I'm breezing through the URA finals. Clocks. You can spend them. You should be getting 3 to 4 clocks per day. Because I think you get a clock. Do you get a clock in the daily race? I can't remember the top of my head, but you definitely get a chance to buy 1 clock. Please don't give me a bad rest here. No! Why would you do this? Oh my goodness. Okay, so that's okay, just quick tangent there. That's not what you want to see. I shouldn't have really done that, but I wanted to get some training in. If I really cared about the URA finals, I should have just gotten an outing. In outing, I don't, unless there's some freak 0.1% chance, you cannot get a bad outing, quote unquote. You can only get bad rest, like you just saw. So yeah, I might even just fail this one right here. So, yeah, we're just gonna take this, and if we fail here, I mean, I'll clock, but yeah, back to clocks. You should be getting at least 3 clocks every day. No reason not to. They're pretty cheap. After that, you're either buying a clock and, yeah, so I'm gonna continue here and watch the race, but you getting a clock, and for free-to-play players, obviously, if you're a whale or someone with the resources, you can buy whatever you want in the shop. There are pieces, obviously, but that's more for vanity, or if you really, really like a girl and her piece shows up in the shop, yeah, it's only 1 piece, but if you really like the girl, I'm not going to argue with you. Otherwise, it's either 1 clock and the motivation up smoothie, or 1 clock and then the shoes are optional as well, because you should be getting a bunch of shoes by nature of training. Or, yeah, like I said, 1 clock or the support points, because I personally would prefer people, or I would advise people to save a good, healthy amount of support points, so say, or for leveling up your support cards is what I mean. So, around 80k to 100k support points to level up your support cards, in case, like I said, for this current event, we have a free SSR Guts, so obviously they're going to give you enough to get it to level 50, but of course you need both the gold and the support points to get it to level 50. So yes, you should be leveling up SRs and SSRs depending on what you need and whatever you have limit broken, because as a free-to-play, you have to work with what you've got. But since Side Games has shown with these events that they're giving us some SSRs, yes, if you want to go into communities, whether it's Japanese or English communities, and they're like, no, don't use McQueen SSR stamina, but if you have no other option, you might as well level them to 50. I have Rice Shower at 40. It's working well enough for me. I'm raising good enough girls, and they're working for me. If you really, really are trying for PvP and whatnot, then at that point, I mean, if you're a complete free-to-play, you really have to optimize, 1, your training, and 2, kind of strategizing where you want your support points, how to awaken your girls, which girls to level up to get the optimal skills, so on and so forth. So, yeah, so focusing on boosting your event cards or whatever helps you for the event so that you get more goodies would help out. Also, I see myself stuck at the end there. I will keep clocking just for the sake of clocking, but yeah, again, to go over that point of saving resources, so I have like 60 plus clocks as a complete free-to-play. I haven't spent any money on upping my jewels and stuff, but that's because personally, I mean, you don't need that many clocks. I would advise you to go lower, because if it's the difference between getting I didn't mean to skip that. Oh, actually, I can. Oh no, I can't. Can I? I can't hit the replay. I just skipped the race. Gosh dang it. But yeah, around 10 to 20 clocks you should still feel comfortable with. I'm just saying personally that I'll just set this to auto, kind of slow it down. But yeah, 10 10, 20 clocks. The only reason I would save as many clocks as I have on me right now is, say, I'm just gonna go on a, say, event spree. So like right now, there's an event. If I'm not feeling confident that I will get enough points to clear the event, being able to clock so I can get to URA finals, or if I run into a freak accident where I fail, say, the 5th race on this objective list and I therefore don't get a lot of event points, then yeah. And of course, some people may calculate it's like you only need to do the dailies to do the get all the events. I don't think that's true, because I believe I've watched videos. Unless I know if they've Psy Games has made it better, but yeah, that's why. Just saving clocks to make sure that if I'm going on a spree of training, if for some reason I want to do a big Musume stream, Yuma Musume stream. Or, gameplay-wise, if I want to spend a day and I have a really good run, as it relates to newer players, if it's the difference between winning URA finals or getting a really, really good girl, but you get an unlucky race, then yeah, you want to save all your clocks, because if we run out of clocks and you end up failing a race, but you, say, had an onsen run with, like, 50% of your turns rainbow training, and you have an overall 2,500... yeah, your overall stat point total is like 2,500 before even the end of your training, then yeah, you kind of want to clock that one so that you don't end up getting stuck there. So, again, that's more on clocks. I've already gone over jewels before the training. Go back in the video once the stream is done, if you're watching right now, to look on that. Support points, gold. Personally, for my daily races, I do a ratio of either 2 money races and 1 support if I need more money. Usually, otherwise, I'd mainly do 2 support point races and 1 money race for my daily races to kind of basically trying to even out my thing. I usually I don't try to end up with 0 money or 0 support points, because I may do a 10 pull. If you're someone who spends a little bit of money, you may get an SSR and therefore you suddenly need to level up that card, or things of that nature. Basic gacha saving tips. So yeah, but yeah, that's the thing too. If you, I would personally also recommend, if you're a complete free-to-play or someone who doesn't have a lot of resources or money to spend on this game, focus on max, average amount 15 girls, because that's how much girls you need to put on your PvP teams. So 15 girls, and you know what races they're going to be in. Otherwise, 3 to 5 girls is kind of already pushing it. If you have a favorite 1 or 2 girls, then those are the 2. After that, you kind of branch out. So like I said, I do gold chip here, and I've suffered from it because I didn't really grind my Bakushin O right now. This is a really close race, by the way, but close race, by the way. Time to get drop kicked. But yeah, 1 or 2 girls, I did gold chip. And as I've shown before, the only girls that have drive-in strategy starting at A, here's my legend thing, just turn my brain off and do. Of course, if you're a whale or someone has more resources, it doesn't really matter, but yeah. I'll just set this on auto go low, but like I said, gold chip, not really much else. Maybe Simply Rudolph, definitely Simply Rudolph. She's just a good staple overall, but those are the 2 girls I'm maining, quote-unquote. After that, I branch out and kind of give girls skills or try to gear girls towards more the strategies that I'm built for. Granted, some of my support cards are not helping me, but I still managed to do my gold chips just fine, so if I'm this much with not really optimal strats, then I'm sure anyone who puts more time and dedication into this game would definitely hit A rank, and I've definitely seen people do it with all their girls. I'm just personally stuck at B plus rank for all my girls. I'm literally like some of them, mainly obviously Bakushin O, but definitely gold chip. I'm like 10 points away from getting A rank on after completing a run, but again, if I spent my 7,500 jewels doing 10 pulls, I can definitely get A rank. I'm just saving it for my personal, in case they come out with a limited girl, things and so on and so forth. So as we get into the end here, these last results are based on your bonds with mainly the journalist here, but mainly I max out the chairwoman because of the nature of increasing my unique skills, but they give you goodies at the end. So as you see here, my bond I don't think was maxed, but she still gave me +5 to all. If you'll know, you maxed out the chairwoman because if you win URA finals, you'll get her fan, which increases all your stats by 15. If you have a trainer, she'll also give you goodies, but I don't think I maxed her out. And then if you win URA finals, like I said, it's an overall 100 plus total points. Around 50 plus is points there, but as you keep winning them, you get more. I'll just give whatever skills here, it doesn't really matter, because I was more focusing on inheritance. I won URA finals, but that should be the norm if you're around mid-game or basically grinding inheritances and whatnot. If you're a new player, just focus on leveling up your support cards and building inheritances while trying to find a way to get in the groove of winning URA finals consistently, because like I said, not just for the inheritance factor chance, but for the increase in stats, which overall increases your progression, because it may allow you to get inheritances, it may allow you to win more PvPs and whatnot, and so on and so forth. So again, stopping one more time here, completely random. If it doesn't choose your stat, it doesn't choose your stat. If it chooses your stat and you only get 2 stars, then bad luck. So I haven't done this as much, but yeah, nothing much else more to say. I might come up with a more formal video instead of just informal stream, but this is more my crash course lesson if I was teaching a class. On me as a dirty casual, complete free-to-play, how I'm doing, and like I said earlier, I like to kind of sum this up. I'm not the most optimal either, as you've just seen. I've had worse runs. I've had 80k fan runs. So if you do put in the time, look into some communities, 1 or 2 videos here and there, kind of keep up to date, then you should be just fine. Otherwise, if you really are turning your brain off like I am, level up your support cards, find good support, because basically a lot of my good inheritances come from my supports. I'm almost at 10 million as gold ship, so I'm going to put that title on and feel good about myself. So, yeah, that's that. I don't know if I'll be doing more Uma Musume finals, maybe some like fun videos here and there, but maybe add some things here and there, but otherwise don't be surprised if other games come out on this channel. Otherwise, if you want to support me, I would really appreciate it, but other than that, that'll be the end here. Nothing much else more to say. I'll hang on for the couple of more questions just in case anyone has anything else. But as for the stream, this should be the end. I didn't really prepare a good transition to out of stream, so have this white screen, and I will be in the end. Jared and MML, I'll be. Thank you for watching. If you're watching this from the future, thank you for watching. Jared and MML out.